21 was a year which was very much colored by the pandemic, of course. So the pandemic started to hit us already the year before, but the after effects of it were very much present as we came into the beginning of 21. And what we started to do already, I should say, in 2019, but more so in 2020, the first year of the pandemic, was that we started to have a conversation with two, I should call them peer companies who were working either directly in our line of business or very closely adjacent to our business. And these two companies, they were Affectiva and iMotions, of course. So with iMotions, before the pandemic hit, we saw that there were huge strategic potential for synergies and a huge strategic potential there to collaborate even further than what we were doing at the time, and even to join forces. Then the pandemic started in 2020, and we had to take a break with those discussions. We had to put it on hold. Approximately at the beginning of 2020, we had started to have these kind of dialogues also with Affectiva. We were exhibiting at the same time at CES, and we saw that we both had the same vision about where the automotive industry in terms of measuring inside of the car were going. But that also were, of course, put on hold in March 2020 as the pandemic started. But at the end of that year, at the end of 2020, we started again to start these discussions up, and with Affectiva, the Boston-based human insight AI company, who were also heading towards automotive, just like we were. So at the end of 2020, those discussions started to become more intense and more concrete. And also we, as the year turned from 20 to 21, they became more and more intense. But of course, the discussions and the negotiations that we had with Affectiva at that time, they were going at a much slower pace than they could have done if it wasn't for the pandemic. We couldn't travel, we had to do everything. Everything needed to be done either on Zoom or Teams or something like that, but online instead of in real life. So it was progress, but it was slower progress than what we was hoping for, so to say. But so even though 2021 was a year very much affected by let's say by the pandemic in terms of being able to go out, to meet customers, to do demonstrations, to have in real life customer meetings, it also sort of freed up a little bit of time and a little bit of bandwidth that enabled us to look at these strategic moves, and it slowed down the pace which we could do the joining forces, the strategic alignment with these two great companies. But so the tempo was slowed down, but it didn't prevent us from doing it. So seen from many perspectives, 2021 was a year where everything was slowed down involuntarily. I mean, our customers were slowed down, we were slowed down, and so on. But the strategic dimensions, the strategitic scope that we could do during this year was actually maybe it actually enabled us to do more. So what happened then was that we were able to, at a slower rate, but still we were able to finish the negotiations. And in May of 2021, we could announce that we were going to merge, or actually we were going to acquire Affectiva and merge the two companies, Affectiva and SmartEye. And we really saw in front of ourselves that we were creating this transatlantic AI juggernaut that the future of the car industry is much more than just, I say just because it's very complicated of course, but I mean, just looking at the driver's face that we have been doing up to now, it was like an amazing starting point for and it really, with that, can really increase the safety in cars. We can attack two of the three biggest problems when it comes to car safety today. I mean, every car has a seat belt, every car has multiple airbags, with multiple seat belts, multiple airbags. And this is great to have if the car crashes. But, of course, the new technology, including our technology, prevents cars from crashing. And many of the accidents, it's very rare these days that the car crashes because of you get a flat tire on the highway or the steering doesn't work or the brakes doesn't work. And these mechanical issues with cars, they are more or less solved. The quality of the mechanical hardware of a car is amazing these days. But the human error is still there. And what do people do? Well, why did the number of accidents that cars were going into, why did it start like 5, 6, 7 years ago? Why did it start to increase after being going down for decades? Well, it was probably because the advent of the smartphone. So people actually use, which is forbidden of course, so you're not supposed to do it, but people, they use their smartphone in the car and they do all sorts of things that you're not supposed to do. And you could see it in the statistics, the insurance companies and the authorities, they keep statistics about this, and many types of car accidents started to go up. Another big cause of car accidents is of course the drowsiness, that people, they know that they're not supposed to drive their car while they are drowsy, but many people still do. And many accidents, maybe as much as 1/3 of the accidents, it's hard to measure exactly because people don't really admit if they crash because they fell asleep in the car. But a huge part of the accidents happen because of drowsiness or inattention when you use your smartphone or do something else which you shouldn't do in the car. And this is what we remedy. We are able to address these causes of accidents with the driver monitoring. We look at the head of the driver, the zoomed-in picture of the head of the driver. There's a third cause actually, which is intoxication. People use alcohol or other drugs and still drive their cars. And we have not solved the intoxication issue yet to be able to measure intoxication with image-based system, but we are working on it. We're doing research on that subject actually and trying to solve it as well. Okay, good. We were doing this driver, it's called driver monitoring when you looked at the zoomed-in picture of the driver. But of course, there are more things that goes on in the inside of the car, and also this super cool subject with effective AI, when you can actually detect the mental state and the emotions, the feelings, the facial expressions of the driver and the passenger in the car. So there is so much more that you can do now in terms of having an interactive, wholesome in-vehicle experience, both for the driver and for the passengers of the car. And also there are lots of safety problems that you could start addressing. For example, sometimes an airbag blows up in the face of a driver or a passenger when they're sitting too close to the airbag. And in those instances, it's better to suppress the airbag. Also, it's very tragically, children are forgotten in hot cars, and sometimes small children die because their parents are stressed or something and forget that they have their kid in the car. So, and also of course you can forget pets in your car, you can forget objects or the other objects in your car like laptops, keys, whatever. So there's a big long list of things which is called, it's not driver monitoring, it's more like cabin monitoring. You're monitoring the cabin of the car. And this whole complex of camera-based or radar-based or other sensors measuring on the inside of the car. It's as a collective, it's called the interior sensing. And that's a vision which was shared between Smart Eye and Affectiva, and instead of continuing to be competitors, we decided there in May last year to join forces and start working together. So that's one of the major things last year, I would say. Now, we were still not content, we were not happy after we joined forces with Affectiva, because we saw also that there is also another trend, and that is that trend that you're not only measuring with one type of sensor, you're measuring stuff with multiple types of sensors, both in cars but also in research applications. And there's this company called Emotions. It's a Danish company based in Copenhagen with a big presence in Boston. And Emotions, they are the market leaders in a software platform for multimodal behavioral research. So they have created this amazing software platform where you can take in all these different kind of sensors, and everything gets synchronized and you can measure it. And it enables you to gain deeper insight about humans than what you can do when you're only measuring on just one modality, like one camera or one sensor, for example, with galvanic skin response or whatever it is. So we believe that this is something which is prevalent, and it's something which is growing and existing right now in the research sector. We believe that we can take this multimodal principle from research into the car. So we believe that also, just like the car will develop from driver monitoring into cabin monitoring, we also believe that the multimodal sensor principle is something which is going to be very valid for the car industry as well. So we believe that we are future-proofing ourselves by doing these two strategic acquisitions that we did last year. And also we're becoming a bigger company. We sort of, together we are reaching that critical mass when you can really start to take on larger scopes, larger innovation scopes, I should say. So I believe that the future is very bright. Of course, it's not completely bright. There are definitely, of course, dark clouds on the horizon as well. We are, for example, we are not through the woods yet when it comes to the pandemic. I mean, we are still, most of us we are from different countries here today, and most of us are experienced that the pandemic is fading away more and more, but there are still after effects. For example, one of those after effects is the semiconductor shortage crisis, which became imminent during COVID, and we are still living in the aftermath. And I think many of our car customers are seeing that they have to produce cars at a lower rate, lower pace than what they could before the pandemic, and also it takes longer to develop cars as well because of the semiconductor shortage in the world. And another thing which is also difficult, of course, is the geopolitical situation. We have war. Who would have believed that we would have a war in the middle of Europe like just a year or two ago? But it's actually happening right in front of us now, and we are not through that either. But of course, with all these uncertainties, which of course exist, and I'm not saying that they are unique for Smart Eye in any way. I mean, this is something which exists for everyone. But with all, we can be certain about. There's certain things that we can be sure of. I mean, like cars are actually people are going to continue to want to buy cars. This personalized way of transport is something which is here to stay. So that we can help to make cars more safe, which in turn is making them more sustainable. I think we are definitely, we just have to weather out the storm. We have to get out on the other side of all these geopolitical or pandemic events that we are living through, and we have to come out on the other side. And I'm sure we're going to come out, every one of us, we're going to come out stronger than we were in the beginning. And I think also that this new company, I mean, we are more than twice as big as we were 1 year ago. And this new company, we are really positioning ourselves to develop this new amazing technology that has the potential to really transform the way you experience your car and the way the car can transport you from A to B safely. But I also believe that this technology has potential to be really successful in other verticals and other sectors as well. But first things first, so that's why we call our current strategy, we call it automotive first. It is that we take the technology from the research market to the automotive market, and I'm sure that's what we will continue to do, at least for this year, but who knows about the future.